the Tyreek Hill trade really was a catalyst for, I think, some of the camaraderie that we're talking about, because at the end of the day, we didn't know there was a problem.
Yeah.
We didn't know there was an issue. He wasn't acting out on the sidelines. I remember every once in a while, I remember there was a game where they cut the commercial and it seemed like something was going on between him and the receivers coach, and they never really talked much about it. They downplayed all of it.
Right.
But it became obvious after the trade that he was a guy who wanted the ball more.
Yeah.
I've said before, I think he was frustrated by what Cooper Kupp was doing in 2021, and he believed with more chances he could be generating those kind of numbers, and he could be the guy that everyone's talking about as the best receiver in football, because he still had career-high catches and targets in 2021, but it wasn't enough.
Right.
Here's what Veach said about when the time came to trade Tyreek Hill and try to improve the defense. It became obvious as free agency started last year, given the way receiver contracts were going up, that it was going to be tough to do both, to keep Hill and improve the defense. There are going to be moments where we have to step out there and do something uncomfortable. No one wanted to lose Tyreek. He's a great player, but if you're going to do something, trust the process and trust how you do things, and don't be afraid to commit to change a year sooner when you have more ability to potentially make those changes work better. And that's really what it came down to. Look, the guy had become a pain in their butt. And they weren't going to call him out. They weren't going to drag him. We only know about it because he said it himself on his podcast about how unhappy he had become. And he was talking about getting 4 targets a game. And he wasn't. The facts don't bear that out.
No.
He wanted the ball more, and it put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And now we have a guy who can just distribute the football and let the game happen and let the offense run the way it's supposed to run.
Right.
And hey, I think back to when they're up 21-3, and they got cute with that play to Tyreek Hill at the end of the half and didn't score. Remember? And
AFCG throws a little swing route out to the left side there. Yeah.
Like, how much of that was Tyreek Hill?
Let's get Tyreek the ball here.
Instead of, let's come up with a play that works.
Well, again, to your point, those type of players, when they start to get disgruntled, they add pressure to the organization. It does. It adds pressure on the field, everything. It adds pressure on the sideline. I went through a phrase, I could kind of say this with Brandon Marshall, right? I was with him in Denver one year, and, he was arguably the best receiver in football. He wanted the ball. I understood that. I mean, we all understood that. And early on in the game when the quarterback was trying to, Kyle Orton was the quarterback of our football team who did a great job that year. You're feeling the game out, teams playing you a little differently. He'd come on the sideline, and Brandon Marshall, that is, and he'd be going crazy. Like, you've heard us tell the story before. Veins popping out of his neck. Why the F am I not getting the football and everything like that? And we all would feel the pressure on the sideline. To where it would go, wait, we might have been wanted to do this, this, and this on the next series, but because of Brandon Marshall, and he is our best player, so let's not forget that, instead of we were going to do play A to start the series, let's do play B and just get him going right here. And it's tough to deal with that at times. It really is. And I think it took the pressure off of Mahomes and Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy through, kind of what you were just referencing. Not always having to call a play where Tyreek's the number one read, or come up with plays during the week where we just go, hey, we got to get Tyreek the ball. Now they're just going, wait, let's just draw up plays that we know make sense against this defense, and who the hell cares who lines up where, whatever else. And it's made them harder to defend because Mahomes is playing more pocket, precision, surgical type quarterback play right now.
And that's where it's a reflection of the culture of the organization, because you don't hear about any of the players in the locker room, on the sideline,
nothing,
in the meeting rooms, agitating that we're not getting the ball enough.
Right.
I want the ball more. They're just ready for when their number's called. They understand that Patrick Mahomes is the center of that universe, and they're just happy when the opportunity comes that the ball is moving in their direction. And that's it. They're happy, and they just keep going, and they win. And they have guys there that buy into that. It's a combination of creating the culture, but it's also an aspect of having guys, comes down to scouting.
Yeah.
Guys that are going to be content with their role and not get pissy and create a problem.
Right. And I think that's where they have a great feel for guys that love the game. Even though this guy might be a personality and, go off a little every now and then, it still comes back to football, and the guys love football. And Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but here's one of the coolest things I think to kind of pinpoint what you're saying here with Mahomes and the camaraderie and everything. And you might remember this from the Andy Reid interview I did. I I've never really heard of it to this extent, but the fact that, yes, he had all the receivers down in Texas, they're throwing footballs, and after he gets done every day, he's texting the Kansas City coaches little scouting reports.
Yes.
You know, hey, this guy's good at this. This guy's good at that. We could draw plays with this. I mean, that to me is just, you know, the little clues of a great organization where everybody's on the same page and striving for the same thing, and there's no personalities or egos that are getting in the way of the main mission at hand. And, you know, I think, again, that speaks to what you're talking about, Veach, Andy Reid, and then having guys like Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones, who can then bring that culture, you know, into reality with the locker room. And that's where they've become a special organization.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.